I'm Martha Talamondjila Naanda. I'm the Program Director for Inclusive Conservation, Responsible Stewardship and Conservation Finance. My role is as a thought leader, leading a team within that cluster, but more contributing to WWF strategic plan as well as Roadmap 2030. In this capacity, I work with a number of partners from the civil society organization, community-based organization, and indigenous people and local communities, as well as conservation partners and stakeholders. Just to maybe simplify, my role is really to co-create institutional spaces, collective institutional spaces, so that we can co-generate solutions as well as enable sustainable coexistence for people and wildlife to thrive. Namibia is really an arid country in which I live, so wetlands are the ecological lifelines for people, including myself, and for the entire country. Each natural ecosystem of a wetland provides a number of services. In some cases, they cannot be quantified because they include the use value and the non-use values of the services. Wetlands have some of the richest of ecosystems, key biodiversity areas. The benefits, they range from a number. And just in an arid context, I want to talk just from a human point of view. It's not that they are only important for the well-being of humans, but they are important for the nature as well as the wildlife, flora and fauna that lives in these ecosystems. Water provision, climate stability, flood control, as well as soil and erosion controls. Those are very important benefits of wetlands. The maintenance of the water quality, the clean water, as well as controlling pollutions are as well those benefits. But I think in many cases, even if we talk from an arid country context, the wetlands are important beyond borders, the borders that are natural made, because they do not respect this. They necessitate collaborations that are beyond borders to safeguard the values and the benefit and the services for people and nature and for wildlife, as well as important ecosystem biodiversity that are transboundary. We also have some international multilateral environmental agreements and convention that honors that character of that importance of wetlands. So Namibia became a contracting party of the Ramsar Convention on 23 December 1995. As a contracting party, it's committed to the sustainable use and the protection of the utilization of these wetlands and the Ramsar sites themselves, because they have international significance. Namibia, as a contracting party, has as well 5 Ramsar sites. And you asked the question from the coast, because 3 of the Ramsar sites in Namibia, they are in the coast. The Wafis Bay Lagoon, the Sandwich Harbour, and the Orange River mouth. And the other 2 includes the Etosha National Park, which is very famous for a wealth of biodiversity, and the Babata Okavango Ramsar site. Namibia is not just ending to protecting and honoring the convention and its obligation as a contracting party. Namibia is in the process of recognizing, through the methodology and the standard put by the Ramsar Convention, the bushland plans. They are in the process, they are not yet. And they will increase the area covered. Currently, the 5 Ramsar sites, they cover more than 600 hectares, which is a contribution to Namibia achievement of Target 3, known as 30 by 30, which is part of the other convention, the Convention on Biological Diversity, specifically the Kumingham-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. As I alluded to earlier, the wetlands are ecological lifelines for people and for wildlife. And the services which are essential, they cut across the 4 groups of ecosystem services, whether they are provisioning, regulating, supporting, or cultural services. In simple terms, these are really water, drinking clean drinking water, water purification, and in the case where this purification is not there, they are treated. But their values are both economical, social, and cultural. In some cases, and in many cases, actually, they are not even quantifiable. The climate regulation I talked earlier, the flood control, soil erosion, sediment, they are really key values that are played by these wetlands. Okay, so I just have to repeat, Namibia is an arid country. So scarcity of water is a key challenge that the country faces to attain and pursue its sustainable development aspirations. Now, the pressures and threats are usually, and to a larger extent, emanating from that scarcity of water. The availability of clean drinking water, and when it's not available, the cost associated with actually treating it so that they are of good human consumption according to global health standards. But maybe before I talk to the actual specific threats and pressure, I do want to acknowledge that Namibia has made great strides in terms of really safeguarding and providing clean drinking water, especially post-independence Namibia. And that is something that is really invaluable because water is life. It's an ecological lifeline for people and for wildlife. Now, obviously, there are communities that are underserved, and in this regard, the pace and maybe just the effort and need to be accelerated or fast-tracked so that these underserved populations and the communities that are being left behind in terms of access and availability of clean water are served. However, the country has made great strides, but this need to be accelerated, those strides. The wetlands are specifically from the precious land use changes, incompatible infrastructural development, as well as just the demand for clean water and the climate change. And in some cases, these threats and the pressures are as well transboundary. That's why the management and the control and the monitoring beyond the borders is important. Wetlands are really important. And my key messages is that they contribute to our lifeline. And specifically, in accordance with the themes, the wetlands as the ecosystem, including the cultural services it has. It's part of indigenous knowledge and traditional knowledge that once lost, it's gone. So when we respect the wetlands, it's not just the natural wetlands, it's the natural wetlands and the cultural services of which it carries, which are the people, communities living nearby, as well as the broader national knowledge on these wetlands. As we talked about, they range from the coastal areas, Etosha Pan, and then Bwabwata Okavango, and that's the worth of Namibia. Of course, not all the worth. So in terms of international, traditional and indigenous knowledge, you can already see the coastal knowledge, the north central knowledge, the northeastern knowledge, which is part of that. I think one message, which is a bit elongated, is that wetlands are important, not just to the Namibian society, not just to the countries that are sharing some of these wetlands with, but really humanity as a whole. And if I can say something that is critical, one message adding to that is that because we are a party to the Ramsar Convention, this is an embodiment of the government commitment to take the step to safeguard these ecosystems.